Introducing the Building Your Strategic 3-Year Plan, the workshop where we organize your goals into a ready to implement strategic plan so that we can increase your chances of achievement. Now, as your facilitator, I wanted to introduce myself, and I got to see all of the presentations from all of our speakers, and I was blown away. They are way cooler than me. So at the last minute today, I added this slide just so I can share some cool facts about me. So I came up with 5 cool facts. The first one I think is the coolest part about me, but I am extremely passionate about what I do. I am a workshop facilitator, instructor, and keynote speaker, and I help people get the tools that they need in order to be successful. So that's why we do events like this. I was on Dragon's Den in 2021. I was also once introduced by Adam Grow. He's the Cash Cab guy, if you're Canadian and you know that show. He introduced me for a speech once, so that was cool. I love to dance. Any music that you've got going on, I will be grooving to it, no problem. And finally, I have a cat, and he's nosy as hell. So you can see in the photo, he was looking at whatever I was doing on the screen. All right. So before we dive into this workshop, I would like you to take 2 minutes to do a learning style quiz. So I'm going to drop if you can't get it on your phone, I'm going to drop the link to that directly in the chat. Okay. Because I want you to be able to identify your learning style. And the reason I want you to do this now is because you're going to do a whole lot of learning tonight. And so understanding your learning style is going to help you tap into the strategies that are most effective for you. So most people think that they are a visual learner, but that's not one of the main learning styles. We all tend to gravitate to visual aspects versus other things like audio or things like that. The more in terms of visual and the more you get to practice it, just increases retention. However, it's not one of the learning styles. So click on that link, and then you'll be able to answer 12 questions to generate what your learning style is. So that'll just take 2 minutes, and let me know if you have any trouble accessing the quiz. When you're done, if you can drop your learning style in the chat, just so we can see what kind of learners that we have. Reflector, experimenter. I'm not surprised, Andy. Experimenter. Makes a lot of sense. See? Conversationalist. Yep. I'm not surprised, Florence. Thinker. Reflector, thinker. So keep this information in the back of your mind as you're going through this experience and also future experiences, because this is how you learn best. You might need to reflect on things. You might need to think about things. You might need to just try it out as a experimenter. You might need to talk about it if you're a conversationalist. Experimenter. None of these surprise me so far for those of you that I know. Yeah, reflector, Jamelia. Yep. Conversationalist, reflector. Amazing. Okay, so I hope that you find that little piece of information valuable as we're going into the sessions today. Just lean into your strengths, okay? Alrighty. So let's get started. So the very first part of goal setting and strategic planning is understanding your strategic vision. So where am I going? If you're planning a road trip, you need to know your destination in order to know how light you're going to pack or how heavy you're going to pack, how much gas you need. Where am I going? Do I need a passport? Do I not need a passport? You need to know your destination in order to know what you need to get there. So, a great way to help you visualize is to ask yourself what you want your life to look like. So, we're also going to take this a step further by giving yourself prompts. So, for example, in 2026, I will be 32 years old. Well, I will be 32 years old. You put in however old you're going to be. I will be doing X. I will be living in X with habits that include X, Y, and Z, having accomplished X. So when you think about filling in that sentence, think about the things that come to mind. So in 2026, I will be X number of years old, doing X, living in X, with habits of X, Y, and Z, having accomplished X. Now that's 2026. Once you've taken a few notes and a few things have come to mind, you're going to move on to 2025. In 2025, I will be, I'll give you a moment to quietly reflect and think about that. And once you've done 2025, then of course move on to 2024. Okay. So, the next part of this, we're going to be diving into the 3 year strategic planning template. So, if you have that open, great. All of these categories are already listed out for you. So these are the goal categories. So everything that you thought of or everything that you wrote down when you were visualizing, start categorizing them under each of the respective categories. So asking yourself, what are my goals in health and wellness? What are my financial goals? What are my business and career goals? What are my goals with relationships and family? What are my goals in education? And what are my goals in personal development? Or you can include any other personal goals here. So start filling out your chat or your template and include any goals in the chat that you'd like to share. And my advice here is don't spend too much time thinking about it because you'll know intuitively what you want in each of these categories. So whatever comes to mind, just write it down. All right, we've got some goals coming in. Carlina is learning to swim this year. Yes, we support you. Shaniqua is starting a business and blog. Oh, amazing. Shout out to you. Obtain my communications and PR certificate. Florence, yes. Angelica, this year is about self-care and self-love. Yes. Devontae, read 2 books a year. Yep. What 2 books, though? Awesome. These are great goals. And just fill in as many as you can across each of the goal categories. Because what we're going to do is we're going to take this and turn it into a strategic plan. Getting my mind right and learning more about investments. Perfect. We've got an expert in the building too. So if you're not in that session, you can always watch it later. Amazing. Learn how to dance and buy my first car. Yes. Launching my group coaching program and global retreat. Ooh, global retreat. Yes. Ooh. Running my first mini wellness retreat and buy a car. Ooh, awesome. Focus on self-care, down payment on a home. Yep, love it. Okay, does anyone need more time to add some goals on here, or are we good? Just give me a thumbs up if you're good, and then we will keep going. All right, all right. If you need more time, let me know. Okay. Looks like we're good to go. So let's continue becoming a successful IB, balance work, family, set up boundaries. I want to start a podcast. Yes. Awesome. Okay. So when you're done, you're going to have something in front of you that looks like this. 6 lists of goals. So how do we take this arbitrary list of goals and turn it into a strategic plan for achievement? So there's one skill that many people lack. Well, it's not that they lack it, it's just that we tend to fall short with this particular skill in certain situations. And that skill is prioritization. This year is about prioritizing what is most important. So that's exactly what we're going to do. So if you have a highlighter handy, grab a highlighter because what I want you to do next is take a look at that list of goals and identify the top priorities. So the top priorities are those that are most important to you. And I know all the goals are important to you, I get that. But if you had to choose, because if you could only accomplish some of what's on your list, which ones would be the ones, those top ones? Which ones would make you the most satisfied? Which ones are most important? And which ones would have the biggest impact on your life? So you're going to highlight those in green. And for those of you who do not have a highlighter, you can just put a number 1 beside those goals. If you're working in the strategic plan template, you know where the highlight button is. Okay. So of course, next we're going to go to our secondary priorities. So these are the goals that we would be happy to accomplish only once we've accomplished the other goals. Okay. They're almost down our list a little bit further. So we're going to highlight those ones in yellow. Or you can do a number 2 if you don't have a highlighter under those goals. And finally, in a different color, so maybe orange, highlight your long-term goals. So by long-term, I mean any goal that you can't realistically complete in 1 year. So these are the goals that would go under 2025 or 2026. And in this case, I know that some of your green or yellow goals or your ones or twos might turn orange. Okay. That's okay. Don't worry about that. So if you're not using highlighters, you can put an L on these goals for long-term goals. Okay. So that last one with the long-term goals should be pretty easy. We kind of know intuitively what can be done within the year and what can't. So now we're going to start building the skeleton of your plan. So we're going to start organizing these goals on a timeline, and we're going to start at the highest level. So the years 2024, 2025, and 2026. So for those of you who are working in the strategic plan template, this is already laid out for you. If you're not and you're working on paper and pen, you're just going to want to make 3 columns. That's for 2024, for 2025, and for 2026. Okay. So what you're going to do next is we're going to start with those orange goals, the long-term goals. So these should be placed in either 2025 or 2026. And the reason we want to start there is because we need to now work backwards and add any sub goals in 2024 if required. So do these goals have any required actions in 2024 to help you achieve them? And if yes, add those required actions to 2024. So I've been demonstrating samples for you. So a lot of these are my actual goals. Some of them I just added as examples, but I just wanted to show as an example in 2025, I have a CPF certification. And so in 2024, the application needs to be done. So that's an example of a sub goal that's going into 2024 in order to achieve the 2025 goal. And obviously for the others, there's a lot of a lot of sub goals that need to go in 2024, but just as an example, the CPF application. Okay, so what goes next? Your green goals. Let's put your green goals in first. These are your top priorities, so place those all in 2024. I know this might be difficult if you're working on paper and pen, but that's okay. You can always catch the recording and then take your time to do this. If you're working in Word, it's an easy copy and paste. And for those of you who are really quick, I'll just skip ahead one. You're then going to add your secondary goals, your yellow goals, into 2024. And finally, you add what is left over. But don't think of them as the leftovers. As we build the next part of your plan, you can determine realistically if those goals that were not highlighted in green or yellow have a place in your plan. And you'll see. So let me know in the chat when your skeleton is done, and then we can move on to the next part. You can just drop a 1 in the chat if your skeleton is done. Awesome. Those ones are coming in. You're almost done your skeletons. Excellent. Okay. So most people set goals in January 2024, and then they don't look at them again until December 2024. But that's not going to be us. Okay. Because in our strategic plan, we're not focusing on our 2024 goals. We're focusing on quarterly goals, right? Why? There is so much evidence to support 90-day plans or quarterly plans. You'd be surprised. As I was doing research for this event, so much evidence to support that. So we know that there are many goals that can't be accomplished in a month, but they can be accomplished within 3. So feel free after the event to dive into the literature of why 90-day plans are so successful. But for now, we're going to build one. So in order to build a 90-day plan, we're going to start with Q1 of 2024, and we're going to be breaking it down into 3 sections. So for those of you who are in the strategic template, you can already see what those sections are. But the first section is your focus, okay? This is the goal, singular goal that has the majority of your focus for the quarter. There should only be one goal as your focus here, because this is the goal that you're going to dedicate the most amount of time and energy to. One singular focus. I know there's a lot on your list, but don't worry, I'll explain in a second. You want to have one target per quarter. Now, number 2 is the routine change goals. So these are the goals that simply require you to make an adjustment to your current routine. So for example, if you want to eat healthier, maybe instead of eating toast for breakfast, you eat eggs and veggies. It's a simple change in your routine. These goals can also be things that you add to your routine. So for example, perhaps you're taking an online course, and now instead of just hanging out at home on Tuesday nights, you have class Tuesday night. So that's a change in your routine. So these goals are things that you're going to be doing consistently as part of a routine, but are not necessarily the main character or the main focus. And then finally, the third category is one-time events. So as they sound, these are things that are in your schedule that just happen one time. So for example, it could be an application that you have to submit by a certain date. It could be an event, could be a vacation, just one thing that happens once, and once it's over, it's done. So what I want you to do is take a look at what you've put in for 2024 and fill in your focus for Q1 of 2024. Fill in what are the things that are going to create changes to your routine and anything that's a one-time event. Also, your focus should be one of your green goals. Your focus should be the most important or top priority for you. One of them. Also, your routine changes should be either green or yellow goals. If you determine that you have the capacity to then add those remaining goals, then add them. But you'll know, because we're focusing on a much smaller timeline, you'll know whether or not you have the capacity for them. There's a question in the chat. How do you determine the one-time event that ties into the focus goal? So do you mean they're kind of one and the same? There's an event that is your focus? They can overlap if that answers your question. Like that one-time event could be your focus? Yes. Okay. That's what you're asking for. And another question, should routine change correlate to your main focus or just general things that you want to change? Okay, so that's a great question, and both. The answer is both. So there should be things that support your main focus that will create a routine change, but there are also things that you can include as well. Now, if you know personally that you can only just focus on that goal and then the corresponding routine changes, just include those and don't add anything else. But if you have the capacity to add and change those other things in your routine, add them. So for example, like if you have to answer both of your questions, if you have a big event that maybe you're hosting and that's your main focus for the quarter, you focus on that and maybe you can't add if you want to take some online courses, you can't add 2 online courses to your schedule because that change in routine is going to affect your focus. You don't have the capacity for it. Great questions. If anyone has any further questions, let me know in the chat. I will answer them. And just drop a 1 in the chat if you were able to create your plan for Q1. Yes, amazing, amazing. I think the biggest mistakes I see is that we set a ton of goals in January and then we just kind of arbitrarily hope that we'll get to them throughout the year. Or we bite off more than we can chew and we try to do a million things at once and then we fail at a bunch of them and then we get discouraged. So by focusing on one thing per quarter, you increase your chances of success for that one thing because you're creating the space for it. Yes, small steps. And then you also feel better because there are goals that you're just placing in Q2 or Q3 and you know you're going to get to them and you know that they're not falling off, so you're not feeling discouraged. You're not feeling like you're just leaving them off your list. So of course, your next step would be to create your plan for Q2, Q3, and Q4. And you'll have something that looks like this. So I'll just give you a couple minutes to get started. Now, I don't expect you to have it all finished, but it's a good idea to have this complete, by the end of the week. And what I would love for you guys to do is once you complete your strategic plan, share it with me for accountability. We all need that accountability partner. So screenshot your strategic plan, send it to me through email, info@drivenbyco.com, or share it on social media. Or if you don't want to share it with the world, just let me know that it's complete for accountability. Another question, how do you determine what should go in each quarter? Do you consider due dates of things to inform that? Yes, absolutely. Consider due dates, consider your capacity, anything else that's going on in your life. And it's also strategic to what you want to do. So, for example, within my green goals, so for example, for Q1, I have the short form video plan with the Social Co, which is one of our speakers tonight. But one of my one of my green goals is to increase my community for Driven By. So that's one of my main goals. So that is where I started with Q1. So this will take a little bit of time to think about because that goal is going to feed into other goals. But increasing my community is going to make prospecting in Q2 a little bit easier. I'll have more content to show. I'll have a little bit more online. I'll have a little bit more activity. I'll even have some inbound marketing. So it's kind of strategically placing how this all makes sense. So it will take some thought. But yes, due dates and a combination of how to place things strategically so that each of your goals support one another if they're connected. Even considering seasonality, because for goals like fitness, sometimes I know Andy's nodding his head. So trying to start running in the winter is a little bit harder than it is in the spring. So maybe that's a goal that you focus on in Q2. Maybe you just start doing some baby steps and small routine changes in Q1. That's a good idea too. Okay, and what I want you guys to do, so again, I'm giving you homework here. I want you to complete the strategic plan and for accountability, either email it to me or share it on social media and tag me. So just type yes in the chat if you're going to do that and you're going to stay accountable to completing the strategic plan. Yes. Yes, yes. I'll try my best. Hey, that's more than we can ask for. Yes, okay. Yes, can we have your email address, please? Great question. It's info@drivenbyco.com. Just drop that in the chat. And then my socials, if you'd like to do it that way, is at Driven by Co. Okay, so the final part of this is what else makes this plan strategic, other than strategically placing your goals on this timeline and your focus for each of the quarters. So the question is that we're all after is, what is the best way to get from your current reality to your vision? So I'll tell you a story. Last year, this is a true story. Last year, I wasted $3,000 on Facebook ads on a strategy that I came up with on my own. No, I'm not a Facebook ads expert here because this is what I thought someone else was doing. I'm like, oh, it looks like it's working for them. But I'm like, I can do it myself. I can DIY it. I'm not an expert in Facebook ads by any means. So I did not get the results that I thought I was going to get. But in the middle of the year, I started working with one of our speakers who is the resident Facebook or Meta ads expert. And not only did I start spending less on my campaigns per month, I got more results. I got better results. She was able to highlight the areas that I overlooked that needed to be improved. So I say this to say, yes, you can do it on your own, but you can do it better by consulting the right resources. This is the strategic part, right? Collaboration allows you to reach audiences and people you could not have reached on your own. And for those of you who are taking Carlina's Your Network is Your Net Worth session, you will learn about this in depth. Okay? So also, those resources. So for those of you with small businesses, for example, have you explored resources provided by your municipality? Have you explored the resources provided by organizations who serve the community? There are so many resources out there, but are you even aware of them? So first, you want to make yourself aware of those resources and use them, take advantage of them to help you achieve your goals. Because again, yes, you can do it, but you can do it better or faster or more efficiently or more effectively with the help of resources. And finally, opportunities. Make a plan to keep an eye on unexpected opportunities and be agile enough to include them if they fit your goals. So I put that as a caveat, if they fit your goals. So sometimes there are opportunities that come up that'll take us off track from our goals. And sometimes when we're really excited about things, we'll go and start a business on the side because we saw a really cool opportunity, but it has nothing to do with the goals that we set out for ourselves. And it only distracts us from our focus. So keep an eye on opportunities. And if they fit, if they align with what you want to do, go after them. So one way that I do this is I subscribe to or follow organizations that would make good partnerships. And if any opportunities come up, I'll act on them. Okay, so in your strategic plan for each quarter, I want you to just write down any ideas. You don't have to complete it now, but people you want to collaborate with, resources that you can explore, and ways to stay in the know for opportunities. Sound good? Wonderful. Okay. So the next part of this for you to do on your own time is to then break down your quarterly goals into lists of actions for each month. So when you know your focus and when you know your routine change, you'll know exactly what needs to be done in each month. This is going to contribute to achieving those quarterly goals and helps you stay accountable to the little things that happen week by week. So I believe in you. You got this. And I thank you so much for your attention. I'm so excited to see all of your strategic plans, but I'm even more excited for you to execute them because I want to hear more success stories. Be unafraid to share your success stories with me because I would love to see them, love to share them, and love to talk about them. So if there are any questions, let me know. I would love to answer any questions at this time. And if you prefer, you can also send me questions by email. You have my email now, info@drivenbyco.com. Thank you. Thank you for participating. Lots of food for thought. I love it. Thank you, Amisha. And she owns a food business, so double entendre. My pleasure. My pleasure. Wonderful. Okay, so if anything comes up later on, feel free to email me or even find me on any of my social channels. And just so you know, the recording will be available soon after this presentation. but also as part of our brand new Success Strategy Academy, which is going to contain a collection of workshops, courses, and resources to support your success. So, more information will be coming to you to your email following the event. I know I've sent you a lot of emails already because I didn't want you to miss this, but there will be more following the event just to share that. Okay. So, thank you again so much for your attention. At this time, we're going to go for a quick break so that you can refresh yourself. And then when we come back, we're going to go into our focus groups. Okay. So, I'll see you back here in 5 minutes.